Okay, welcome everyone to the 9:30 agenda of the Judiciary Committee this Friday morning, March 24. The one bill on this agenda is HB 1294, requires every candidate for public office in Hawaii to use their legal name for election purposes. There was something I was supposed to have looked up last night and didn't, so I'm going to defer this until 9:31 a.m. on March 30, which is a Thursday, in this room 016, and it's a single, so we have some time. Okay, so for that agenda, we're adjourned, and the next agenda is not for another 5 minutes. Okay, welcome everyone to the 9:35 agenda for the Judiciary Committee this Friday morning, the 24th, here in room 016. On this agenda, we have HB 1502. If we have a catastrophic technical failure, we'll go ahead and roll this one over until March 39/31 on Thursday in this room 116. And for those, anybody who hasn't testified at this committee in a while, we do have a 2-minute time limit, both for Zoom and for in-person. And a little buzzer will go off if you're in the room, and then there's a countdown on the screen for the Zoom testifiers. Okay, first, for the bill for today is HB 1502, limits compelled disclosure of sources for unpublished information for journalists, newscasters, and persons participating in collection or dissemination of news or information of substantial public interest. We did post a proposed SD1, so we hope that your comments will be on the proposed SD1. Okay, first up on 1502 is Catherine Remigio for the Judiciary, Judge Remigio. With comments, next is Douglas Miller, Legal Women Voters. In support, Michael Phillips, Big Island Press Club. In support, Sterling Morita, Hawaii Chapter Society of Professional Journalists. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman. My name is Sterling Morita. I'm president of the Hawaii Chapter Society of Professional Journalists. We like this bill. It's been a long time. It's almost identical to the SHIELD law that we had in effect from 2008 to 2013. We sure hope you pass it. The proposed SD1 is fine with us. We don't see any problems with the SD1. Just to give you a little background, back in 2008, we were considered at the forefront of SHIELD laws.
Pull the mic closer. I'm not sure people back behind you can, okay, go ahead.
We were considered at the forefront of SHIELD laws in journalism, and now we're only one of 2 states that does not have a SHIELD law, the other one being Wyoming. I guess Wyoming hasn't moved a bill this year. So anyhow, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Sure.
Okay, great, thank you. Next is Andrew Crossland in opposition, Gerard Silva in opposition, Cheryl Kato. Good morning.
Morning. If I may. Chair Rhodes and members of the Committee of the Judiciary. My name is Gerald Kato. I recently retired after a long career in journalism on the Journalism and Communication faculty at the University of Hawaii. Prior to joining the faculty, I was a newspaper and broadcast reporter who spent many years covering government and politics in Hawaii. I speak on behalf of myself and First Amendment attorney Jeff Portnoy, who could not be here today. Portnoy and I were among the primary authors of the legislation known as the Hawaii SHIELD law, which was considered one of the most progressive in the country when it was enacted in 2008. We believe it achieved that delicate balance to protect the free flow of information in a democratic society while balancing legitimate needs for information and pursuit of justice. The Senate draft proposed to restore and codify the law with an amendment to clarify that the privilege attaches to journalists and not to the source. This has always been our understanding and intent of the law as it was proposed, and we support an explicit amendment that affect it if the committee believes it is necessary. Because this may be the last time I can speak to the committee on this. On a personal note, I've been a journalist and taught journalism for 50 years. I have gray hairs to prove it. During that time, I witnessed how the media industry has undergone tremendous change, as has the technology we use to communicate news and information. I believe the strength of the bill is that it is a template for recognizing and working within the changes to preserve and defend a model for robust protection for journalists and journalism. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of H.R. 1502, proposed Senate Draft 1.
Thank you. Next is Dale Turner in support, Will Caroon in support. That's everybody who signed up for 1502. Does anyone else wish to testify in HB 1502? Okay, seeing none. Members, questions? I have a question for Mr. Kato, I guess. Yeah. It's really for the judiciary, but they're not here, so I'm just hoping that you have some information on this. Their testimony, they're suggesting that we refer this bill to the Standing Committee on Rules of Evidence, which I'm not really sure what they mean by refer, because I'm not aware of any formal process for us to refer anything to anything at the judiciary.
Well, you know,
and they're asking us to wait until that committee has had a chance to look at it.
The committee, the Judiciary Evidence Committee, did have an opportunity to look at it. As a matter of fact, that was the basis for deferring action on the bill in 2011. And that moved it to 2013. The committee came back and supported the legislation. I would suggest, respectfully suggest to the judiciary that while the news business and technology has indeed changed since 2008, that essentially one of the beauties of this bill, if I may, is that it deals with those changes in a rational way, to the point where I don't think that anything new can be added or subtracted to the bill if it were sent back to the Evidence Committee. I think it is, with all due respects, you know, I work on this bill. I think it's one of the better bills in the country. It is, if we enact it now, it will be the last shield law to be enacted. There are 30 some odd states with shield laws around the country. This would be a model for what a 21st century law would be. So, in effect, the bottom line to this is that I don't think it's necessary. I don't think the change is so substantive that the Evidence Committee needs another look. I don't think there would be any change.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Members, other questions?
Yes, I do.
Senator Sanguino-Ventura.
Do you know of any state that allows for this kind of privilege?
Yes, as a matter of fact, 30, the number eludes me right now, about 36, 37 states right now have shield laws of some form or fashion. Other states have enacted protections of this sort through other means, Supreme Court decisions and such. Hawaii and Wyoming have the distinction of being the only states without any kind of protection for journalists, and I'd like to take Hawaii off of that.
Okay, so what I want to know is this particular bill, under what state is it modeled after, do you know?
It is a unique model. I guess, you know, we came up with something that took the best of the shield laws that were available in 2008 and came up with this particular piece of legislation.
So what I want to know, I guess, is because no other state has this particular shield law. We can't really see whether there's any pattern of case law to see whether or not this, helps or hurts, right? What is the closest state that this particular bill follows? Do you know?
Probably California, I would venture to guess, but I think California's laws will, each state, whatever state I mentioned, will have something unique to that state. But I would venture to guess California.
Okay, thank you very much.
Other questions, members? Senator Elefante.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Kato, for your testimony. You did say that you supported the proposed Senate draft.
Yeah.
And I believe that you did put in your testimony, but for the public, can you explain why you support the Senate draft?
The Senate draft, I think the bill, as it was written, was intended to protect journalists. It is often called a reporter's privilege. So I think it's built into the bill already. But I think there is some concern that it be made more explicit that the privilege attaches to the journalist, and it just makes it makes explicit what I think was already in the bill. So I don't have any problems with that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Sorry, Chair, may I
Questions?
follow up?
Hang on just one second. Wait, hang on. I just want to make sure everybody else.
Okay,
Okay,
thanks, sir.
okay, go ahead. Senator Sam,
Okay.
Troy.
So here's my concern. If we allow what it sounds like gonna be a stronger protection for the journalists, but really a lesser protection for the public, this kind of bill, instead of one that follows another states, then whenever we see false narratives in news, how can we compel the journalists to let us know, the public know, whether or not the report actually comes from a reliable source? I mean, especially now when we see a lot of fake news, you could be fed, a journalist can be fed a false narrative, and then they report it, and yet the shield law will prevent us from compelling that reporter to tell us whether or not where the source is for that false narrative.
Well, let me say this. No law in the world is going to create good journalism. I believe that having a law that protects journalists and journalism will lead to good journalism generally. Is there any mechanism or means to prevent lies or untruths? There's no way of doing it. But my intent here and the intent of this law is to protect journalists and journalism. And I think if good journalism prevails, then the public benefits. And good journalism, in my view, is journalism in the public interest.
So my concern is like the latest one regarding the against Law of the World News or something like that, where Alex Jones sent out a false narrative that basically, under the guise of news, that said that these people were lying, that all of the people who were part of the massacre did not actually occur. If we allowed this and prevented him and basically make him not subject to subpoena to reveal his sources, we would not have known that his basis was false.
Well, I
So
think
how do we protect against that?
I think in a specific case of Alex Jones that you're speaking of, he was sued for defamation. This bill does not protect anybody.
Well, it's evidence, though.
Pardon
It's
me?
a law of evidence, which means we cannot
it's a law of evidence, but I think the bill specifically excludes defamation. And in any case, in a defamation situation, if the reporter, the journalist refuses to reveal the sources, oftentimes the courts will say that there was no source.
The problem is when you deal with the law of evidence, whether or not it is criminal or civil, and civil is defamation, we won't be able to put to light of day what kind of source. I fully understand the need to protect good journalists. What I don't want to protect are bad journalists who put out a false narrative. And that's my concern when we come up with a law that is stronger than all the other states have put out. That's my concern. And that's the reason I asked you whether or not there is any other state that has patterned, that this bill is patterned after, so that we will know whether or not they have a history of being able to ferret out false narratives.
Well, on that basis, I mean, you know, if we want to do a comparative law situation, I would point to California. I would point to New York. You know, generally, the reason I don't want to say a specific law is that many of the laws, I've lectured on this before, so I don't want to lecture you, but you know, shield laws have been part of American law since 1896. I think the first one was passed in Baltimore, and various periods in our history have seen shield laws enacted. There has not been a shield law enacted for a long time because most of the states enacted them in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. So what we tried to do in 2008 was come up with a law that met the requirements of the 21st century. It recognizes traditional journalism, which was undergoing changes already back then, and non-traditional journalists, people who are perhaps bloggers or people commenting on government and public affairs, to deal with that situation. And to that extent, I think this is a very progressive bill because it recognizes the changes in journalism and technology, and recognizes that there are people who don't work in the newsroom with four walls, who do journalism.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Members, other questions? Okay, if not, I'm going to go ahead and defer this for a week. I would like to track down what the judiciary is talking about when they want to refer it to the Committee on Privileges, of Evidence, and I just don't know what they're talking about. I hope to resolve it today that they would be here, but they're not. So we will defer it until March 30, 9/31 on Thursday in this room 016 for decision making at that point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to, let's see, what time is it yet? Moving on to the 9:40 agenda. This is the decision-making only agenda. Members, anybody need to talk story before we start?
No.
Okay. First up on the 9:40 agenda is HB 161 relating to collective bargaining, and establishes that the representative of labor on the Hawaii Labor Relations Board be a person selected by a majority of the exclusive representatives of collecting bargaining units. Recommendation here is to pass as is. Questions or concerns? If not, Vice Chair for the vote.
Recommendations to pass HB 161, HD1 SD1 unamended. Chair Rhodes.
Aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Belafonte.
Aye.
Senator San Buenaventura.
Aye.
Senator Awa.
Aye.
Measure passes, Chair.
Thank you, members. Next up is HB 364, clarifies that when trespass involves public land, all state and county law enforcement officials may enforce trespass laws without regard to whether the land is owned by the state or by a county. The recommendation here is also to pass as is. Questions or concerns? If not, Vice Chair.
The chair's recommendation on HB 364 is to pass as is. Of the members present, are there any no votes or reservations?
No vote.
No vote for Senator Hawai'i. The measure passes.
All right, thank you. Next is HB 717. This prohibits under certain circumstances state employees from hiring or promoting relatives and household members and from making or participating in certain other employment related decisions and from awarding a contract to or otherwise taking official action on a contract with a business if the employee's relative or household member is an executive officer or holds a substantial ownership interest in that business. Recommendation here is to pass with some amendments. We did not. Okay, never mind. Recommendation here is to put on a delayed effective date of March 22, 2075, and otherwise we'll leave it the same, but with amendments. Questions or concerns? If not, Vice Chair.
Chair's recommendation is to pass HB 717, HD1 with amendments. Of the members present, are there any no votes or reservations? Hearing none, the measure passes.
Okay, thank you. Next up is HB 823 relating to deaths within the correctional system, expands the scope of reports on correctional facility and community correctional center deaths that are submitted to the legislature and governor. Recommendation here is to pass on amendment. Questions or concerns? If not, Vice Chair.
Chair's recommendation is to pass HB 823 HD2 unamended. Members present, any no votes or reservations? Hearing none, the measure passes.
Thank you. Next up is HB 1035, establishes protections for critical infrastructure information that is received or maintained by the Office of Homeland Security. Recommendation here is to pass unamended. Questions or concerns? If not, Vice Chair.
Chair's recommendation is to pass HB 1035 SG1 unamended. Any no votes or reservations? Hearing none, the measure passes.
Thank you. Next up is HB 1132 relating to the Hawaii Correctional System Oversight Commission, requires members of the Hawaii Correctional Oversight Commission to be subject to the advice and consent of the Senate, extends the term of the oversight coordinator for the Hawaii Correctional System Oversight Commission, and some other stuff. Recommendation here is to pass as is. Questions or concerns? If not, Vice Chair.
Chair's recommendations to pass HB 1132 SD1 as is. Of the members present, any no votes or reservations? Hearing none, the measure passes.
Thank you very much. I think that's it. I don't believe we have anything on Tuesday, so we have a week off of JDC here.
Oh,
What are we gonna do?
what are we gonna do?
We're adjourned.